The Call of Duty League kicked off its inaugural season with an impressive display at the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Call of Duty League was announced late 2019 and drew excitement from Call of Duty and esports fans alike, as Activision Blizzard seeks to enhance the scene as a whole. The Call of Duty League, also known as CDL, is similar to the Overwatch League, as it's home to teams from around the world. Teams will host home events around the globe, where select teams will attend and face off to rise up the scoreboard. There are 12 teams in the CDL. There is the Atlanta FaZe, the Chicago Huntsman, the Dallas Empire, the Florida Mutineers, the London Royal Ravens, the LA Guerrillas, the Minnesota Rokkr, the New York Subliners, Optic Gaming Los Angeles, Paris Legion, Seattle Surge, and the Toronto Ultra. Prior to the CDL's opening weekend, the Atlanta FaZe, Chicago Huntsman, and Dallas Empire were all high in the power rankings. But after the matches and looking back, it was clear that anything and everything can happen this season. Currently, the Atlanta FaZe and Chicago Huntsman are tied for first place with an 85.7% game win rate, and the Minnesota Rokkr and the Paris Legion are tied for third with a 75% game win rate. Now, on the other end of the rankings, the Dallas Empire are tied with the New York Subliners for last place in the league with a 1-6 record and a 14.3% game win rate. One of the teams that was predicted to come in really hot into the league just could not find their stride, and Shotzi and Clayster just got walked all over throughout the entirety of the series. But regardless of whether you missed a single match or most of the weekend, we're going to do a speed run of all of the matches, running down the key points from each. Opening day brought the fire, and the Chicago Huntsman made sure to put on a show in CDL's first ever match. The Huntsman won 3-1 over the Dallas Empire, and it should be no surprise to anyone as the deadly duo of Scump and Formal laid pressure on the Dallas Empire consistently throughout the series. They got punished for their high speed and aggressive style on Search and Destroy, with the help of Shotzi popping off on the sniper and punishing Chicago for sloppy pushes.
Tries to get the peak, but Shotzi right between the eyes gets the shot, and Dallas Empire take round.
The Seattle Surge versus the Florida Mutineers ended with a 2-3 with the Florida Mutineers winning out, and the CDL's second match of the year got heated as a back and forth between the coastal teams left many on the edge of their seat. The Surge started strong with Octane enjoying long lines of sight, with the Naval backing him up on rotations. It didn't take Pristini and Frosty long to get in the zone as the series went on. This made it increasingly difficult for the Seattle Surge to maintain momentum for any extended period of time, and in the end it came down to Search and Destroy. Sadly, nerves got the better of Seattle as the Mutineers cleared out the Surge 6-0.
Finds one, but it's all up to Karma, and it's not gonna be enough. The Mutineers find themselves dominated.
The LA Guerrillas versus the Minnesota Rokkr was a juicy match that got everyone talking and brought some more controversy into the fairly new esport league. Despite the Minnesota Rokkr's dominant appearance in the preseason rankings, the LA Guerrillas looked strong against the hometown heroes of the weekend. Search and Destroy on Piccadilly was a snipe fest, with God RX and Lacefield holding angles, with the veteran God RX making a devastating impact against the opposition.
No true sight control has come through, but that's a pick. You said he was going to be lethal, and he proves it.
The LA Guerrillas outclassed a somewhat frantic Rokkr, often playing at the same slow tempo and developing strategies as they made rotations. Now, I'd be remiss not to mention the whole forfeited game situation, which really sounds like a bad call on CDL's side. Lacefield had a banned perk equipped during Search and Destroy called Hardline, and what this perk does is allow you to get your kill streak faster. Now, the CDL has a number of banned guns, attachments, and perks, such as shotguns, deployable shields, and laser attachments. But league rules also state that kill streaks aren't even enabled for Search and Destroy matches. If the rounds were close, causing them to forfeit a round could seem maybe reasonable, but in the wake of a 6-3 map where activating a kill streak isn't even possible, the league's decision doesn't make much sense. While many had some choice words for the integrity of the league, the LA Guerrillas issued a fairly professional statement. They began with, "The Los Angeles Guerrillas protest the outcome of a league decision during their Call of Duty League match against the Minnesota Rokkr on opening day. While we accept a player did inadvertently use a banned perk, it did not affect the outcome of the game. The Guerrillas accept the loss and will continue to participate in all league competitions and obligations. However, enforcement of the violation was inconsistent with prior incidents of similar nature." They start to talk more about the specialist bonus and the impromptu vote that was held, but what really caught my attention was the latter half of it, where they stated that several league decisions were cause for an additional concern. Competition delays added pressure on the last match of the night, and there is not a written standard regarding time between matches. Even after the search and destroy round, there was a long period of time that fans had to wait for the next round to get started. While nobody really knew what was going on, there were glimpses where the camera would pan to the LA Guerrillas, which showed them talking to a referee or an official, and when they got back on stage, it was clear from their faces that all of the steam that they had built up over the last 2 maps was gone. From this point on in the series, after a nearly 40-minute delay and a momentum-killing decision from the referees, the LA Gladiators ended up falling 1-3 to the Rokkr, giving the Rokkr their first win of the year. Day 2, the Subliners went up against the Ravens and got smacked into the dirt. The Subliners came into hardpoint guns out, sprinting at the opposition, only to lose steam and get rolled by the Royal Ravens. The London team took a 102-point lead on the initial map, but didn't start raising eyebrows until brothers Wuskin and Scraps controlled the New York Subliners on Search and Destroy, only furthering the stereotype that teams like to skip S&D day. Unsurprisingly, the Ravens continued to fly high during domination, and the map went exactly as the game mode sounds. The Royal Ravens ended the last map 216 to 128, taking home a solid 3-0 destruction against the New York team and proving themselves to be a contender in this league.
With 12 seconds left, the 5 spree comes in, and Wuskin finds the 1v3 for the Ravens, and what an energy boost that'll give him into round number 3. Wow.
The Toronto Ultra versus the Seattle Surge was an intense and gripping 5-map series. In the first weekend of CDL, the Seattle Surge have taken both of their games to map 5, but haven't been quite able to clinch it out. The Surge are excellent at applying pressure and forcing top teams like Toronto Ultra to run into their heavy gunfire or take a defensive position just to stabilize. Unfortunately, the Ultra outplayed the Surge despite the series being insanely close, with no more than a 50-point differential in each map, with Search and Destroy being decided just by 1 round.
Enable, does he go straight for the challenge or does he wait for his next teammate to come through? Well, the fight's up top, Slacks one, Trey goes for the challenge. Looney shuts him down, Enable for the 1v2, Toronto clutch up in a big way.
The LA Guerrillas versus the Florida Mutineers was a chance for the Guerrillas to come back and still make an impact during the launch weekend. In another 5-map series, the Guerrillas took on the Mutineers, and it was clear that they wanted it just a little bit more. Florida's rotations on hardpoint are phenomenal, almost always taking 20 to 30 points from a new hardpoint opening, but their struggle to hold points and maintain consistency cost them. The bread and butter of this map was Pristini's flanks on the Guerrillas, while Skies held up the front lines. The LA Guerrillas were able to secure a very close victory and even played an extra map to make up for that free game that they gave the Rokkr.
20 seconds remaining, big kill from Morks. Huge kill from Morks, bomb goes down.
It's all up to just one, it's Decimate here. Decimate finds one, 40 seconds left on the clock, the bomb goes down. Decimate comes up clutch and it's a 2-piece there. Frosty and Morks drop. Decimate finds kill number 12. And my goodness, what a way to clutch up.
Optic Gaming Los Angeles went up against Paris Legion, and they struggled to make a significant impact against the Paris Legion, only putting them in their place on Search and Destroy at Arklov Peak. Paris Legion is an aggressive team that spent a majority of the time hunting down members of Optic, while making rotations as needed. Optic demonstrated decent defense when holding a position or point, but are easily dismantled when one member goes down. Quavo from Optic is one of their standout members, but trying to outclass Kismet left him in the negative at times.
Moves in this exact spot, finds wonderful falling, he gets J-Cap, he gets the second as well! Shuts down Kenny Paris now in a great spot, and it's Kismet.
The last match of Saturday night was Atlanta FaZe versus Dallas Empire. And while everyone's hopes were high for this one, it's easy to say that it didn't quite live up to the hype. Atlanta FaZe versus Dallas Empire was supposed to be a star-studded matchup between two highly ranked teams in the preseason. Instead, FaZe put the Dallas Empire over their knee, claiming an easy 3-0 in the marquee match of Saturday night. To be fair, the Dallas Empire gave FaZe a run for their money on the first hardpoint match, putting up 234 points before FaZe closed it out at 250. But from there, it was a runaway game, with Search and Destroy being completely one-sided, ending 6-0. But at least Shotzi got a fancy snipe onto Simp at the end.
Go down. This could be disaster. Illy does find Priest. 2 versus 3. They still have to get on the defuse, though.
Oh, well, now is Sip. 2 snipes in this round as well. That's 4 across the last 2. Now Shotzi gonna be the last man up. 1 versus 2. Only a few seconds to work with, but what a wondrous shot that is in mid. Shotzi's on it. He's gonna get caught in FaZe.
Day 3 started off with the battle for Europe, where the Legion went up against the Ravens, and the Paris Legion took it home 3-0. Now, it was a tense and fast-paced match, with plenty of back and forth to keep the audience screaming. Search and Destroy was gripping and kept me captured the entire time. The Royal Ravens took a 4-0 lead on Search and Destroy on Arklov Peak, only for Paris Legion to come back and win 6 straight rounds through sneaky plays, aggressive punishment of mistakes, and consistently adapting their playstyle.
Going to be enough. It's very tough to make this.
No! Oh!
Wow!
Hang on a second.
Scraps lands the stick onto Dens and then almost wins the gunfight. The Parisians may have pounded, and pummeled London, but Scraps almost had his way with at least 3 of them within a few seconds of each other. That is disgusting.
Legion won domination in a close 191-169, claiming supremacy as the top EU CDL team and ending their weekend with a 2-0 record. Now, the true battle of the Green Wall happened right after this, with the Huntsman taking on Optic Gaming, and the old versus the new didn't pan out quite how fans and casters thought it would. Optic Gaming Los Angeles was instantly prey in this series, as the Huntsman did what they do best and went hunting. Formal sniping from the stairs on Search and Destroy made for a nasty highlight reel, and the opening match of Hardpoint was a beautiful exhibition of control from the Huntsman. Map 3 on Hackney Yard was time for Optic to pick up the pace and start making some moves, and despite Quavo's best efforts, they just couldn't pull out the win.
If he doesn't go massive, but who's going big on the other side? But Envoy, time and time again, and that is 3 for Envoy as he wanted a 4th. Flying into the window, but it's a lovely triple out of him, and now Formal backs it up. In Chicago, they've got the AB set.
Now, New York Subliners versus FaZe was an interesting match because the FaZe ran circles around the Subliners in this series. Regardless of how close the New York team got on their first hardpoint, they were unable to take a single round on Search and Destroy, and lost with a 128-point deficit on the second hardpoint match, making many doubt their ability to compete in this league. Alright, there's no doubt that FaZe is going to be a dominant force within the Call of Duty League, and maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on the Subliners. But their map win on domination does show that FaZe can be toppled if they get ahead of themselves. At the end of this match, FaZe Atlanta did not drop a single round of Search and Destroy this entire weekend, cementing a little bit of their legacy for this season to come.
Poor pressure on the hill. You get out Celian trying to walk through. Him and Priest able to get 3 between the two of them. But for the moment, Subliners hanging on inside the hill.
Priest sitting at 19 and 15. A 3 spree makes that number 4. He just wants to fly straight through the door. There's 5. Can Priest find 6? Almost.
In the last match of the weekend, and arguably one that most everybody was waiting for, the Battle of the North did not disappoint. And the Rokkr were pumped up on Sunday and ran at the Toronto Ultra with everything that they had, operating as a complete unit. Amidst the chaos that the Rokkr stirred up, the Toronto Ultra was able to utilize S&D's slower playstyle to control the Rokkr and take at least one map away from the top contender. GodRx was on his usual stride, popping any heads that dared to peek corners, securing the Rokkr a hefty 125-point differential on hardpoint Azir Cave. While some teams excel at making their rotations between points at the right time, the Minnesota Rokkr specialize in eliminating members that are making those rotations, and that is where they truly got their edge most of this weekend.
In which that split, they get set up for Cave East as well.
Well, we'll stick with GodRx as he's got 5 in a row at 20 and 8. There's one player underneath him now. He just got in behind. Is that gonna cost him? Is he gonna catch him? He's able to do it. 6 in a row now for GodRx. More chance to do damage. Another one. The flood through the smoke.
Now, I wanted to talk about some of the issues that I noticed and how I'm feeling about the league so far. Now, the Call of Duty League had an incredible opening weekend and brought new eyes to esports in a big way. The launch weekend was not without issues, and it's our due diligence to address them. The first 2 days featured a rocky viewing experience with extreme time delays, persistent audio cutoffs, and weird third-person angles. The abundance of US Army ads made some audiences uncomfortable and did not go unnoticed by fans on YouTube and Twitter. The Minnesota Rokkr faced some criticism days before launch weekend, and if you paid attention to social media leading up to the competition, you're probably familiar with the training facility debacle. Before the official matches kicked off, rumors started leaking online that the event was struggling to provide players with internet to properly practice, and videos emerged of what appeared to be an unheated garage where the event would be held. It was later confirmed that indeed the players were unable to properly practice due to internet issues, but the videos actually just showed the training facilities set up for the players before and between matches. And despite all of that, and despite the whole controversy that happened with the LA Guerrillas, I'm really excited to see what the Call of Duty League will bring and offer this year. And I'm excited for week 2 of the Call of Duty League, which will start on February 8th and will be hosted by the London Royal Ravens on their home turf. Match 1 will showcase the Paris Legion versus the New York Subliners, and you can expect the Legion to take away the victory with this one given the Subliners' performance on launch weekend. Match 2 will be the Dallas Empire versus the Seattle Surge, and this is a match that the Empire cannot lose if they want to maintain their image this season. Match 3 will be the Chicago Huntsman versus the LA Guerrillas, and this is the Guerrillas' chance to claim redemption and climb the scoreboard. The last match of day 1 will be the London Royal Ravens versus the Toronto Ultra, and this will be the deciding factor for the Ravens if they want to pull ahead of the Florida Mutineers, who they are currently tied with for 5th place in the official standings. It will be interesting to see the Royal Ravens spin on the CDL event, and I'm looking forward to it. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you guys thought about the CDL's opening weekend, and make sure to stay tuned for more Call of Duty esports news. We've got power rankings and articles up on the website. Make sure to go check those out. My name is Malik, and as always, thanks for watching.